Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Denise O'Malley, the founder of You Define Wellness, and welcome to the Defining Wellness Confab. And if you've been following along, you know that we have 49 incredible sessions scheduled over an 11-day period of time where I'm introducing you to some of the best people in health and wellness and some of my friends that are in the nonprofit world that are also in health and wellness, but a little bit different angle. So I want to start off, this is where I get to tell a little bit about You Define Wellness, because a lot of people don't know who we are. And at the heart of things, we are a network of health and wellness professionals. We have hundreds of people in our network across the United States. And where we're different than some online provider directories you might find out there, we're more than that. We actually vet our providers because we know that we're introducing them to our clients that are employers and their employees. And I'll get to that in just a minute. So they go through a criminal background investigation, reputation check. We check to see if there's any disciplinary actions on their licenses that they may hold. And the big thing is we also are checking their reputation and see what they're all about. But as always, doing business with anyone who's in our network, it's always you need to do your own homework as well. And You Define Wellness has a couple of products. I'm going to briefly mention them. One is an employee benefit program for the workplace, and this is where employees can access the health and wellness services of their choice from our provider network. We then also have a catalog of health and wellness education topics. We have dozens. So if you're looking for someone to come in and speak at a lunch and learn at your work, or maybe a community group, or even a school group, we've got the speakers for you. And launching today is the Healthy Living Savings Card for individuals, retirees, self-employed, those who do not have our employee benefit program in place. Just a discount card with a one-time purchase price of $49.50 if you purchase by August 1st. And that gives you discounts on the health and wellness services for those in our network who accept that card. And you just go to youdefinewellness.com to find everything. But I do want to share this because it's really important, and that is that we are creating a holistic healing workplace crisis support team. In fact, we've already been called into service. And that's because when crisis hits the workplace, they tell them to bring in the counselors, and that's great, but it's not enough. We have a team of professionals who can come in because we know that emotional trauma and physical trauma can reside in the body and crop up days, weeks, months, and even years later. And so we can bring in a team with psychotherapists, counselors, biofeedback, acupuncture, massage therapy. The list is over 130 different modalities to help out. And so this is going to be farmed out as a nonprofit organization, and we're doing this confab as a fundraiser to help raise funds to file as a nonprofit organization and get settled in the community. So if you are so inclined to do so, we welcome you a donation of any amount at paypal.me/youdefinewellness. But the reason why you're all here today and watching this video is because you want to hear from my friend Katherine Sellery, who is with the International Association for Human Values. They are putting on an incredible summit next month. We will be talking about that, I have no doubt. And Katherine, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I hope you can hear me all right.
I can.
Yeah, great.
I could still hear you, and I'm just so glad that you would agree to be a part of this, because you have something going on with the International Association for Human Values. But why don't you talk about it and tell us about the organization first, and then about what you're doing.
Yeah, fantastic. So the International Association for Human Values is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit, and we are part of the United Nations Socioeconomic Council. And the organization does trauma relief work all over the world.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I mean, for us, and put on this National Mental Health and Mental Fitness Summit is an opportunity to address the mental health crisis in our country. And I'm sure everybody's concerned about
And Katherine, just
that.
Hold on.
What was?
I have to interrupt you real quick. You keep freezing on us, just to let you know. So I don't know if there's a place where you are that has a stronger cell phone service or internet service.
See, like, yeah, I guess we're not having very good service here. Is that right? Let me move over into this room and see if this is any better. Hold on a second. Let's see what this is like. It might not be quite as. Is it better? I'll put a little light on behind me.
Yeah, what you have to say is so important. I don't want it to be verbal in any way.
Okay, how is this? Is this any better?
Perfect.
Okay, good. So I was saying that the International Association for Human Values is doing trauma relief all over the world, and the focus of the National Mental Health and Mental Fitness Summit here in Denver is specifically to bring together the community as a community initiative that's as far and wide as I can, imagine it. So the focus has been on bringing in basically healthcare providers, professionals, educators, the business community, and policymakers, and holding it all within this larger context of family and community. And our focus is really to address the adolescent suicide, veteran suicide, mass shootings, to really have an opportunity for us to see if we come together as a community, if we can make a difference in a way that I think is required. So right now, I know that there are pockets and silos where there are experts who are doing really beautiful work, but I recognize it's not landing. I'm hoping that we're all sort of aware of that. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think we're kind of puzzled over what can we do differently. And this thought is that we have to be able to link arms and cross the river together. We can't do it alone. We have to break through the silos, and we have to be able to create connection. And that a rising tide lifts all ships, and all of these different initiatives that are going on are important, and they're necessary. But at the moment, I think the biggest issue is that somehow we're not talking to each other. And that's become part of, I think, maybe the solution is to create opportunities for us to bring our community together to address this. And by creating this particular model, which is bringing in all of these different landscapes, including a spiritual context, by the way.
Right.
So we have everything from, a rabbi and a mom, a Hindu leader. We also have, some Christian leaders. It's sort of soup to nuts. The idea is to be able to create as diverse a community in all of these different areas so that we can begin to stitch a new fabric that would be able to support our ability to prevent and to identify more quickly. So if you were to go and look at the various people who are coming to the summit, you would see a lot of different expertise.
So this is amazing. And you're bringing in the professionals to talk amongst each other and learn from each other, because nobody has the one answer. A lot of people who think they do, but nobody has the one answer.
Right.
So you're bringing them together to have this conversation and this interaction together. What are you hoping will come out of it?
Well, I think that, a couple of different thoughts had gone into this at the front end. And part of it was that this can't just be another talk summit, that this has to really be around innovation. So one of our main objectives is that we're able to take the collective wisdom on the 23rd and the 24th and bring it into an event on the 25th, which is, we're calling it your roll your sleeves up policy morning and lunch. And some of our policymakers have said, look, we'll stay back and we'll actually convene together. And people who feel that they belong in the room need to be in the room. And so people who've attended the summit and have been able to collectively speak with the community have a better insight into all of the things that they learned and developed over those couple of days. We're going to come together and we're going to actually have a policy day where some of the people in the room who are really good at writing policy, Sam Beard has worked for the last 8 presidents of the United States, for example. And he said to me, there's probably nobody alive who's written more policy than I have. I'll stay. And I'm going to get Bill Milliken to stay, the founder of Communities in Schools, which is the largest at-risk identification program in the United States of America. We're going to get him to stay. And I've spoken to other people who are in critical positions. So we can look at, all right, what kind of policy can we write? What kind of funding mechanisms can we possibly create that are going to give us the ability to get upstream of the crisis? Right now we're in triage and reaction. We need to be able to get upstream, and we need to be able to have initiatives that can fund upstream. So the idea is to take the collective wisdom from the 23rd and the 24th, and on the 25th we come together and we create what are our possibilities from a policy perspective. And let's see what we can actually innovate out of this. And what are some new ideas that could possibly come from this? What ways can we get ahead of the curve? That's really where we're going. And how can we stay connected past the actual event?
And that's a key point.
Yeah.
That's a really big key point, because the one thing that I hear from a lot of people is there's a lot of talk, but what's the doing? You know, what's
yes,
actually happening?
absolutely.
And there's all these fragmented things that are going on, and not talking to one another and collaborating and realizing that our weaknesses are your strengths and vice versa.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what your meeting is doing that. So this is a really big idea. And I'm a little curious. Of course, I know the answer to this, but the people watching this video do not know the answer to this. I'm really curious. How did it come to be? Because this is fantastic.
Yeah. So I personally, have been living overseas for 30 years. I've been in Hong Kong since 1989. And it wasn't until the fall of 2017, I brought my daughter, who was born, both my kids were born and raised in Hong Kong, and I brought her to the University of Southern California in LA. And she started her freshman year, and within 2 months, the parent community received a notice that there was a suspected shooter on campus. And for 3 hours, there was a blackout, and we couldn't reach our daughter. We couldn't find out if she was safe or not, or what was happening. And even though, God bless, it turned out to be a false alarm, it was an incredible wake-up call. Mm-hmm. And I think it's part of the journey for me has been that it was a story out there somewhere. I wasn't taking any personal agency or responsibility to be part of the solution. I was thinking somebody else was going to take care of this. And it was also far away from me. Being in Hong Kong, it was really just a news story. But when I got here and I got to experience it as a mom who was worried about her daughter, everything changed. And although I was blessed that nothing happened that day, I couldn't recognize the landscape of my country. Like, I'd been away for 30 years and my country changed and I couldn't recognize it. It wasn't anything like the country that I grew up in, where it was completely unheard of. Nobody would have even thought about, as you can, I'm sure, imagine, right? Right. We would not know this landscape. It's so different. And I'm not willing for this to be our new norm. Like, I am so not going to be okay with that. Like, this is a blip on the screen, and we cannot let this be normalized. This is not acceptable. We have to be able to have safe places for our kids to go to school and not be stressed out and worried about, like, the number one source of anxiety for the youth is right now in this landscape is, am I going to get hurt at school today?
Wow. So, okay, to put this in really blunt terms, you were a pissed off mom who did something about it.
More or less. I mean, if we had to do that, that's pretty much what it is.
It's not just moms, but okay, you fit in very well with what's going on in society right now, but parents in general. So you're doing something about it, and I love the fact that you harnessed that energy and said, okay, now what are my tools? What are my resources? Who am I going to go to? I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You have a lineup of speakers that is mind-boggling.
It is. It truly is. It's unbelievable. I just have no idea. There's been so much grace in this that I really feel like, life just took me to all the right people at all the right moments in time. And I started with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who is the founder of the International Association for Human Values, and who is probably, I like to say, he's the Gandhi of our times. Mm-hmm. And he really is an extraordinary mediator, and he's mediating some extraordinary conflicts right now, as a matter of fact. People probably know that he was invited by the president of the country of Colombia to mediate the conflict with the government and FARC, which is a small guy. 50-year conflict, and 7.5 million deaths. And these guerrilla warfare and the establishment reached a conclusion where everybody found a peaceful, nonviolent solution to resolve their questions and their problems. And these guys put their arms down, and some of them are teaching meditation now. It's a beautiful story. Yeah. And he said, yes. He said, yes, I'll come. And So that was my first, what do I want to call it, like really critical person who walks his talk and is able to carry a current of, real nonviolence. And as one of our preeminent meditation teachers in the world, I think that he's able to bring people to themselves, right?
Right.
And it is about being centered. I mean, all of these conflicts, I think, are about having lost ourselves. And so fundamentally, we need to find out who we are again and be able to stay so centered in that knowledge that what's happening outside of us isn't causing us to go into reactivity. So how do I stay grounded, and how do I stay at peace within?
Okay, so how many speakers do you have?
Oh God, something like 40 maybe?
No, it was a lot. So you have elected congressional representatives who will be attending. You have a presidential candidate who will be attending, Marianne.
I have two presidential candidates attending at the moment.
Okay.
And we've reached out to everybody across the aisle. We have literally sent a note to every congressman and every congresswoman and every senator and the president and his wife. And, it's a bipartisan effort. It's one that is focused on staying really connected to mental health and mental fitness. It's really trying to penetrate without getting involved in Amendment 2 or Amendment 1. I mean, we're trying to stay away from that. And so that will support us in being able to create statesmanship again. Like that's part of like what I hope will be here, is that I want to be able to say to anybody who wants to make a difference when it comes to mental health and mental fitness, you're welcome to come. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I don't care if you're for or against Amendment 2. I don't care what your personal position is. If you have a passion around this issue of adolescent suicide, if you care about that, come.
Yes.
If you're worried about veteran suicide, come. If you're concerned about mass shootings, come. If you're just concerned about suffering, come. And let's build bridges together. I mean, we got to do something. There's a sense of urgency I have around this. Yeah.
And that comes across. So for those who are watching this live and are on the call, if you have a question that you want to ask of Katherine, would you just put a note in the chat box that you want to ask a question? And Sue, I know you're chomping at the bit to be asking a question, but I'm going to come back to you in a minute, because while you're finding out who's wanting to ask questions, I want to get to the America Meditates real quick. And if you could cover what that is going to be, because that's a huge, huge deal.
It is. It's a huge, huge deal. So the summit is on the 23rd and the 24th of July. It's next week. It's Tuesday and Wednesday. And it culminates in the park, in City Park. So the summit is held at East High School. And then we walk across the street at the end of the summit and we go into the park. And we have this incredible lineup of speakers and performers and the Denver Children's Choir and MC Yogi and So What Project and various incredible speakers. And then we have Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who is actually going to hold a meditation. We will have probably over 100,000 people live streaming. And the idea is that when we meditate and we go into like deep silence, that actually has an impact. And there have been various studies that have been done that can show that it can lower violence, it can lower crime rates. And, there's a sense of a large group of people meditating and being connected together with purpose.
Yeah.
They can actually shift the energy. Yeah. And that is what just like blows my mind, is I have this personal sense that Coloradans are probably suffering from some kind of shock after not only the most recent mass shooting at Highlands, but also prior to that, the Aurora Mall, Columbine High School shooting. I mean, these are tragedies.
Oh, yeah.
In our community, I believe at some level is suffering. Absolutely. And this is an opportunity for us to lift our spirits and to be able to get really like a deep sense of healing, I'm hoping, from this beautiful meditation that will be held in the park that day.
Awesome. And if you're watching this, I'm going to show the link to sign up for all those events that Katherine's been telling you about in a moment. And I have a discount code for you as well. Sue Relihan, I know she's chomping at the bit to ask you a question. So go, you want to unmute her? There you go.
Catherine, I love a chance to meet with you. I'm actually already registered for your event next week.
Good.
And what really strikes me is, I'm not so much sure this is a question as it is just a comment. This is so long overdue. Prior to becoming a healer, which is what I'm doing now, I'm a personal growth coach, I spent 26 years in law enforcement.
Oh, wow.
I worked for an agency that was involved at Columbine and actually helped draft that first active shooter policy so needed in the country.
Wow.
If we would have had something like this, people who would have been willing to sit down at the table, I truly believe, I mean, that's been 20 years ago. Things would have been so much different than they are today. And so I guess I did notice in signing up for tracks that you have a law enforcement track.
I do.
Can I ask you to just tell me just briefly a little bit what you're looking to do there?
Yeah, thank you. So as you know, because you've signed up, when you sign up for the summit, which is held on Tuesday and Wednesday on the 23rd and the 24th, and for social workers out there, there are CEUs that have already been approved. So you will get 7, I believe it's 7 CEUs for attending the summit. But when you sign up, you're invited to attend a free training on Monday, which is a value add training for no additional cost. And there are different tracks. There's one track, which is the law enforcement veterans, first responders track. There's also a healthcare professional track, and I'll just say the healthcare professional track carries 10 CEUs for doctors and nurses. So for professionals, you're also going to get some of your CEU credits for attending. And there's also a university track, and there's a high school track. And each one of these tracks are going to be offering breathing and meditation as a skill and teaching about that. It just happens that for the police law enforcement track, there is a Brazilian police chief who is coming, who has taught 2,000 of his police breathing and meditation, and has a mandate to teach 30,000 more. And he will talk about the impact of teaching these skills and what it has had on his police force, how it has supported his officers who are, I mean, these guys are really first responders in so many ways, and they're under so much pressure. They need to have a practice, you know, and so on that day, on Monday, we're going to be teaching some of the skills. We're going to be teaching some of the breathing and some of the meditation. And some people have said, gosh, I'd love to do that meditation thing, but my mind's all over the place. Well, that's where the breathing comes in. And, you know, it happens to be like the signature of the International Association for Human Values program is this breathing technique, which has been very well researched. And in fact, Yale University has just completed a study. The woman who did the study at Yale is going to be presenting at the conference, Emma Sapala. And it's like a really large randomized control study where they looked at a bunch of different practices and giving children no practice, and if it had an impact on stress, anxiety, and depression. And I'm really curious. I happen to know the results. I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but come and find out. Let's hear from Emma. What were the results of that extraordinary study?
Right. Awesome. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I personally know it's long overdue and will have a tremendous impact.
I'm so excited to have you there. And like I said, I think as much as anything, as Denise was saying, it's our ability to stay connected. I'm already planning on September 7th. I have an acre over here in Aurora, and I'm going to be having an event here at the house so that we get back together. You know, essentially whatever it is, about 6 weeks later, we have to stay connected. And so I'll be announcing that at the summit that, okay, let's go to the policy lunch together, people. Let's start looking at what we can create that's innovative. Let's stay connected and get together in September. I mean, this is going to keep rolling. This is about, first we got to meet each other. We got to celebrate each other's work in the world. We got to help each other find the innovative solutions that we haven't thought of yet that we can think of as a collective, because we know stuff is going to come. I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited about it. And then we got to keep moving forward.
This is going to be awesome. I wish I had known about the dates before I set the dates of this.
I know.
But I am definitely going to be there on the first day of the event. As much as I hate missing the policy, I can't reschedule mine. So, but I know that we will be staying in touch on
We absolutely will.
Yeah.
And, and honestly, your presence is going to be huge.
Well,
and the part that you play in this overall landscape, I know is incredibly important. When I first met you, I was like, you're the missing piece.
I bring with me an army, is what I can say. So everyone, I am showing you the website. Go to summit.americameditates.org. When you register, put in discount code DOM. That's D as in David, O as in Oscar, M as in Mary. And it should give you a little discount to boot. So I do encourage everyone to go to this event, and it's fantastic. We could be sitting here and talking for a very long time, as we have, and I'm just really grateful to have you come and share about this. Is there anything more you want to add about the events going on next week?
I would simply add that, there is a training on Monday that is a value add training. And I asked the people who are running the training if they would come and do this basically as a give back to the community. And it is an opportunity to give our youth, our first responders, our veterans, everybody an opportunity to get skilled up. And that's really important to me, is that, again, this isn't about talk, this is about skills. This is about being able to support people.
If you have another minute, we have someone else who has a question. And Sierra, if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question. And Sierra does a lot of mental health work up in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's all yours, Sierra.
Okay. Hi, Catherine. Thanks for being here.
Hi.
I am going to talk fast because I know we're short on time. So I work with a nonprofit out of Denver. It's called Be Mindful. And what we have done is been working with 911 responders the last at least 2 years, maybe longer than I've been with them. So I'm headed back this September, and we teach them mindfulness practices to be able to deal with this secondary trauma and all the things that they're consistently exposed to. So my question really comes from a space of being a practitioner in the field. And I think a lot of people watching this will relate to this, is like, what is maybe the number one resistance you get from people in different fields of like, this is a waste of time, or this is really woo, or, why are we using our resources in this way, or whatever. And then what is a response that you have found to be effective and helpful that you can give to them that kind of changes the reception of it?
Wow, what a great question. It's actually one of the things that's being addressed. So our first keynote of the day on the 23rd, his name is Dr. Barbara Van Dalen, who has a charity called Give an Hour, which was set up specifically to support veterans who are recovering from PTSD and trauma. And she's just been appointed by the President of the United States to run the task force to address veteran suicide. She said to me, Catherine, we have so much research around breathing and meditation. There is absolutely no doubt that it improves people's mental health. That's not the issue. The issue is overcoming resistance. She said, so let's not have a huge conference having one person after another show their evidence, but we do have some coming to show evidence anyway. But we shouldn't focus on all the evidence. We've got so much evidence. That's not the problem. The problem is the resistance. Because, really, it doesn't cost a lot to teach someone to breathe. And it doesn't really cost much to teach them to meditate, although I do think it makes a difference to have a trained meditation teacher, because a lot of people have struggled to learn how to meditate. So, okay, you get a good trained meditation teacher who can teach reading and meditation. It's a very low cost intervention. And then once you learn it, it doesn't cost anything. So I think that's the problem. We're up against other sort of financial models that have a lot invested in their financial models.
Well, there is another aspect of that I'd like to point out, and that is it's not enough to offer it and not teach the right people the different components of it. Perfect example. I won't name names, but there is a school district in Colorado that decided teaching mindfulness to the children was a really good idea. And I may have shared this story with you, Catherine. And it was working. And the statistics are there. It helps the kids tremendously. But they forgot something. They forgot to teach the teachers.
Yeah.
So the teachers are not supporting it as much, other than the fact that they're seeing the difference in the kids. And I'm going to say that there's another part that they've forgotten, and it's an area that we are going to be addressing, and that we have started to address in our organization, is putting programs into apartment complexes and townhome complexes and office buildings to teach the parents the mindfulness. Because, and I think that's part of the problem. It's, yes, we've got resistance to it, but we're also not teaching the funnel.
It's such a beautiful point you're making.
Yeah. So
yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, my background is parenting. I have a conscious parenting revolution, and it really is about supporting parents so that they can recognize what I call the cues and clues, or the tragic expressions of unmet needs. So when you can start looking at so-called bad behavior as the tragic expression of an unmet need, and then start working backwards to figure out what the underlying unmet needs are, then our focus isn't on the presenting problem. The focus is on getting to the underlying unmet need, addressing the unmet needs. And then once those are addressed, the expressions transform.
And
so it really is about that upstream.
In the world of health and wellness, that's called getting to the root cause.
Yeah.
And it's the same for what you're talking about.
Exactly. It's all interconnected.
Ladies, we could go on and on.
We could have coffee.
Yeah. I'm so thankful for the questions. I'm just going to tell people who are watching this video, get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Be part of it.
And if you're watching this after July 24th, you can still find out more information. Go to the iahv.org website and look and see the work that they're doing there. You'll probably have americanmeditates.org up for a while, I'm sure.
For sure.
But check out what this is, because this is the instrument of pulling all the different things that everyone has been passionate about and saying, hey, we need this. It's pulling it all together, and it's getting us where we need to be. So thank you, and bless you.
Thank you so much, Denise. I really appreciated meeting you guys as well.
Yes. So thank you again for being with me. Thank you for watching. Go to the YouTube channel for You Define Wellness. Just put us in the search bar. You'll find us, and we have tons of videos. But this one, you'll want to be there. All right.
Thank you. Great. I hope to see you all.